Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and I swear to God, if that light goes out again, then I might just lose my shit. Anyways, how often do you get to hear me greet y'all with such a profane, sort of interlude, right? I mean, I am really frustrated right now because the light that I use to reflect upon this beautiful face is literally going bonkers, like as we speak. And I have a suspicion that I might be not posting this video because if we can't get it past a certain time, then it doesn't get posted. And Albert just yells to himself, all to the displeasure, I'm sure, of anyone and everyone in earshot of me, because it sounds maddening. Not that, because maybe one wouldn't know what's going on, but in and of itself, I might sound maddening. I drive myself crazy. Anyways, I was about 2 minutes into the video, and wouldn't you know, the light that I had aforementioned in the previous phrase, it just decided to stop working. Shout out to all the people who make and or have thought of, planned obsolescence. I really like it. I can't thank you guys enough. I want you guys to continue to make products that are functional, but are literally made to not work after a certain amount of time, because after all, we are all capitalists and we need that money, Don't you get it? It's all about who works the hardest. If you just worked real hard, you could just buy 1 million ring lights and you wouldn't have to worry about how the people who engineer and design these things literally plan for them to not work after a certain amount of time so that you can go out and buy more. Again, I'm all for that. I'm a huge capitalist. I'm very pro-imperialism. And in fact, that's why I want to talk to everyone tonight about how, the government continues. And I'm going to give you some good examples about how the government, regardless of whether or not a Republican or a Democrat is at the helm of such and said Democratic-Republican government thing, just how they work together to ensure that you don't have opportunity in life. And moreover, that you are literally indebted to a system that has never and uncomfortably might not ever work in the favor of the people that actually own this bitch. You feel me? And not the people that think that they are stewards of some kind of secretive maritime law that says people aren't allowed freedom, but we can give them liberty, It's them old school captains out there. Shout out, my good sir. I guess, yeah, the Earth is a water planet, and I know I'm going on a sidebar, but if you know, you know. Anyways, I bring all of that up, and I'm a joking guy, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing here. That's sort of my gig. I'm getting into this video a little more, and so hopefully the light continues to function, right? And again, even if it doesn't, I just want to say that it would be alright, because it would just simply mean that I'd have to go buy another one. And I'm rich. Aren't you rich? Doesn't everybody else have millions of dollars at their disposal to go buy these things? What's wrong with you guys? Anyways, let's continue to talk about how the government, and, rightfully so, says the poster boy fascist child, makes it incredibly difficult for you to not only do things in life, but moreover is an active participant and or agent in making these things egregiously, and may I even argue criminally worse, if there is such a proposition that has been postulated. That's the side I'm on, right? I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that. Friendly reminder, the government's now open, unless I'm batshit crazy and did not read properly or stumbled upon some Onion article, which, again, I am not acknowledging at all. I'm just saying, I guess those things could have happened, but so far as I know, I did read on a reputable source, and moreover, I don't know why I remember the tallies, but there were still, I mean, the vote margin narrowly passed, right? And so, again, from my recollection of said article that I just digested, there were, it was like 43 days or something that the government was shut down, right? So an additional 43 days of some legal pilfering of literal finance, on behalf of, or thanks to our wonderful leader, right? Our wonderful leader and king. Praise to God. Thank you for Donald Trump. I'm always talking smack about you, sir, but I gotta tell you, I admire you. Myself and the millions of other people who are so thankful that you continue to make things, and it's not even just you, my good sir. And moreover, not to just continue to go on that side of sort of a thing, but it's sort of like, it's a Republican and a Democrat problem, right? And see how I'm jumping from sort of thing to thing here is kind of what I do, and I'm a little mad right now about this whole camera and light situation. But moreover, let's not forget, what this video and all of my videos are about. Nothing. But also, a friendly reminder that they're both part of the problem, and that until both of those parties are removed from the American conscience, then they will forevermore continue to drum shit up to make this world a more difficult place than it already is. Alright? And so, I personally, both in character, yours truly, and even outside of character, am a staunch socialist, and I really feel like at this particular juncture in my life, there's not a single argument that's not inherently sociopathic and or psychopathic in its rebuttal of wanting to provide basic services to the very people that we interact with on a daily basis. You feel me? Again, unless we're all millionaires, we're all living through this Gilded Age. We all have an unprecedented sort of access to unlimited wealth, but that's not the case, right? And as much as I want to joke about all of these things, again, another friendly reminder, the government actively works to, make your life kind of a living hell. In the secular sense, I think hell can be equated to the current IRL situation that we find out on the surface of this earth that's playing out, again, like in real time, right? Or just like, it's really more than frustrating to, again, acknowledge and recognize that our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, all of the people that we were told are like supposed to be teaching us how to behave properly have all just let us down and gaslit us into like being very confrontational amongst the other poor people, because statistically speaking, friendly reminder that, just a few percentage points of like the total number of people that live on the planet, own more and have more access to finance and have more assets than literally the rest of the other 98% combined. And again, like, I'm not going up any sort of conspiracy tree. I'm not like going down any rabbit hole. You feel me? This is just the world that we live in. And again, you can't blame a guy for being just absolutely infuriated with like just pissed. You feel me? Like with how again, we've all been like just pretty clearly misled, and I don't want to play that game anymore. And so let's continue to talk about how services are taken away and from people, and what do you mean when you say that, Albert? Services are taken away from people? Well, I mean that the continued downsizing of federal agencies, again, so if the government just reopened, then that kind of means that people are just gonna go back to work and everything, you feel me? And I think all jobs should be as cushy and as opportunistic as federal employment, right? A place where a majority of affluential white folks go, and become employed and live a pretty decent life so far as one can see, and that's a good thing. That is not a bad thing in and of itself. What's bad is when the government systematically takes away all of working people's assets and opportunities and then makes them feel a certain type of way about it. And I think that's unfair. I think it's unfair for housing in this country to not be nationalized, right? I mean, I almost feel, and I was having this conversation earlier, that food and housing shouldn't be weaponized. You understand what I'm saying? And it's important to understand that very basic concept, because that's what happens. The government weaponizes things like basic human services. Ergo, these things are not just a conversation that happens at all of our dinner tables, if we're lucky enough to have a dinner table. Ironic and unironically enough, it's frustrating that instead of just making sure that everyone is fed, we argue about how we're going to feed them. And when we speak of them, we're speaking of the people that are clearly beneath us because they don't deserve opportunity or a better chance at a better life. We need to make ourselves feel better by providing them with services that we provide as private individuals from the kindness of our heart. We don't want to provide these people with jobs and or UBI and or healthcare and or basic housing and or food stamps. Instead, we'd just rather set up makeshift shitty to-go pantries at the end of each block that have food in it that a poor person couldn't eat if they wanted to eat it to begin with, right? Because what homeless person has access to a stove or a refrigerator or the other ingredients needed to cook a lot of the shit that people are leaving out on outside pantries and stuff? Not to mention that going to Costco and buying a case of processed garbage, isn't exactly altruistic, all right? And so I'm sorry that we got to talk about things like this. I wish the world were a better place. And honestly, I wish that Democrats and Republicans weren't both active, just criminal organizations at this point. And how would we define a criminal organization? Because I'm curious, I want to know. I think a criminal organization can be defined as, any organized and influential body of people that work relentlessly to circumvent law that has been established so that things like this wouldn't happen. You feel me? And I just am not very much a fan of people putting labels on shit that isn't at all accurate of what it is, And for a long time, you may have thought that the United States of America was some sort of benevolent, kind of democratic republic where people had equal access to basic things and stuff, but they don't. They don't. And if you didn't know that they don't, it's because you're not them, and you are better than that. And you, my friend, are the moral, sort of standard of how all of us need to live. As I was telling somebody earlier, work harder, my guy. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you working harder? And again, in that whole process, I want to support the idea that I'm not an asshole and I want you to eat some food, but God damn it, I'm not going to help feed you. And by God, if I do, it's going to be because I feel like it, and you don't like that ravioli. I'm sorry, you are an asshole because you're not grateful for my charity. When in reality, that nobody has to provide any sort of charity, right? I mean, the government can afford to feed everyone. The government can afford to house everyone. The government can afford to provide you with basic health care. And yet, here we are arguing about the same dumb shit that we have always, and I guess maybe will always argue about. And again, shout out to the Democrats and the Republicans who are absolutely at fault for the world that we live in, so far as it concerns this country. You know, I'm not concerned with any other country. I really, at this point, I don't know what to believe. I do know that I can believe what I see out in the real world. And friendly reminder, I'm going to get out of character here. Hey guys, it's nice to see you. Listen, I tried something there that's a little bit different. I hope that you guys followed me to the end of this video. There's something about being sarcastic and, you know, the double innuendos and things like that, some of these other rhetorical devices that my nerdy ass tries to squeeze into some kind of, you know, functioning form of a cohesive kind of way for me to get out to you guys. You know, it's just, then that's how it goes down, you feel me? But I just am a little frustrated, you know, that every day I am reminded about how both parties, again, and I'm done with it, you feel me? Like, and I think y'all should be done with it too, for the record. And what am I saying here? I'm saying that, like, we shouldn't listen to Democrats and Republicans, and moreover, we shouldn't continue to elect them. That's all that I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean nothing else. I mean exactly that. The longer we continue to support either of these parties, the longer we can all assure ourselves a hopeless future, you know. And I'm trying to, you know, personally live out a life where I don't gotta worry about the next 80 years of like complete and utter chaos, right? So far as it concerns arbitrary dumbass decisions that mostly fascists make. You know, like, I mean, at some point, you know, somebody's got to, like, try to change that. You feel me? And there is a way to change that. And I feel like every single time, you know, I either hear somebody speak or I'm able to have a conversation about, you know, the different options that we have as Americans here, and all of them being very legal, very sound in their rationality, you know, moving forward and stuff. Just not only trying to establish a functioning socialist party in this country, but also a dominating public party in this country as socialists, right? Because again, until somebody presents me with a better solution, I'm getting on that boat and I'm riding it, right? Because that is the only way to make everyone's life as good as it can possibly be, without fear of, you know, your neighbor thinking that because they think they're better than you, they can enslave you, you know. And you're supposed to be thankful for that. You're supposed to be thankful for the idea that your boss brings home more money in one paycheck than you will in 6 weeks of full-time work. Like, yeah, Tom might be cool, but Tom over here is also a part of the problem, right? In that, like, everybody should be getting paid as good as Tom, and moreover, Tom should be making more too. You feel me? You know, credit where credit is due. But as so far on this ship, you know, people are going to be treated just as fairly as possible, and that can exist, and people can still be incentivized to compete. You know, I mean, just because we're socialists doesn't mean that we can't compete, or that other ideas aren't better than other ones, you know what I mean? I mean, those things don't just stop in the name of socialism. And in fact, I'd argue they continue and they grow into functioning kinds of governments that are reflective of how most of us feel about one another, which is kind, amicable, pleasant, wishing for you to have the best night possible. My name is Albert. Thank y'all for watching my videos. I really appreciate all of the new people that have come over to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, smash the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, do something, hit the dislike button. I've said this before, but in any case, have a wonderful evening. Work time is up here. I'll see you guys in the morning, all right? Bye.